If you're in high school, wondering what to do with your life, find yourself passionate about science and the environment and making a difference, you may want to consider becoming a chemical engineer. But what is a chemical engineer? What does a chemical engineer do? It's easy to understand why there's confusion about chemical engineering, and engineering in general, when the discipline is usually defined as using math, chemistry, and critical thinking to solve design and operation issues. So it might be easier to talk about all the diverse things a chemical engineer might find themselves doing. Chemical engineers work all different types of positions and produce all different types of things. For example, they could be producing soaps and detergents or personal care products to keep people clean and healthy. Or they could be producing paints and coatings for uses in home and industrial practices. Or they could be helping produce power and energy. They can also produce medicine and vaccines to keep people healthy and alive. Or help create fertilizer to keep crops grown to keep people fed. Or if they're lucky, they can work making chocolate. The chocolate making process starts with harvesting raw cocoa beans. These raw beans are fermented and dried, normally while they're still on the plantation. Bad beans are separated out, and then the good ones are roasted to bring out the flavor of the chocolate. These beans are sorted, and the good beans are sent to the chocolate factory for being produced. Once the beans are at the factory, they are ready to be processed and turned into chocolate by using some of the fundamentals of chemical engineering. First, the beans are turned into a viscous cocoa butter that is not quite ready to eat. The chemical structure of the butter needs to be optimized for the perfect experience, so the chocolate doesn't melt in your hands. This is similar to how carbon atoms can be arranged differently into graphite and diamonds. In order to achieve this, the butter is tempered, being put through a machine that will heat and mix the butter. By managing the heat transfer to the butter and the shear stress, or the speed of mixing, that perfect chemical structure is reached, and the chocolate is essentially ready to be molded into the chocolate we know and love. Of course, other ingredients need to be added, such as milk and sugar. This process can become surprisingly complex, as we just focused on the beans themselves. Making chocolate is just one of the many tasks a chemical engineer can tackle. The truth is, there isn't just one thing chemical engineers do, and the jobs they'll end up with are diverse and broad. But if that alone doesn't convince you it's something worth checking out, then let's talk about two very important details: time and money. Let's take a look at common career paths in college that people might want to follow and compare how many years you'd need to be in school to start getting to work. First, we'll look at being a doctor. You'll need 4 years of undergrad, followed by 4 years of medical school, then on top of that an additional 3 to 7 years of training. If you wanted to be a lawyer, you're going to need 4 years of undergrad, then follow that up by an additional 4 years of law school. If you want to do research and become a PhD, this will take 4 years of undergrad, followed by around 4 more years of additional schooling. But if you wanted to become an engineer, you'd be ready to start working after just 4 years of undergraduate and start making money. Speaking of money, let's compare the average starting salaries for similar majors coming out of college. These numbers were gathered from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you wanted to become a chemist, you'd start around $72,000 a year. If you go for mechanical engineering, you might make around $81,000 a year. Now, looking at chemical engineering, it's not uncommon to start around $94,000 a year. Another type of chemical engineering, petroleum engineering, can have you start at around $130,000 a year. All the careers we mentioned are great paths to go down and should be respected, and not everything is about time and money. As an engineer, you focus on something called the triple bottom line, and this is where you can make a lasting impact on your world by making it more sustainable and greener. You need to improve the environment, make society better for people living in it with your products, and of course make money for who you work for, all through improving processes with your knowledge. If chemical engineering sounds like something for you, be sure to check out some of the links below in the description. Remember that chemical engineering is an impactful career field where you use math, models, and critical thinking to solve the world's problems. It can save everyone time and make you money, and if you're lucky, you might end up making some chocolate too.